Hi, Jeff Buchanan with RoadRUNNER. This week I'm riding Suzuki's new V-Strom 800DE. Check out the review, and if you like what you see, hit the like button and subscribe.
Suzuki introduced the V-Strom in 2004. This name was derived from a combination of the V-twin engine and the German word Strom, which translates to stream or power. Interestingly enough, the 800DE released this year is a parallel twin, but they've decided to keep the V-Strom moniker for this.
Looking for more exciting motorcycle travel, editorial, reviews, news, and resources for planning your next motorcycle tour? RoadRUNNER.
The 800DE fits beautifully between the 650 and the 1050. For a parallel twin, which are sometimes very mild in their dispositions, the 800DE is absolutely fantastic. It comes on fast, it revs up quick, has a nice throaty sound to it. A lot of that is due to the 270-degree firing order, which mimics the firing order of a V-twin. As a result, the power is really controllable, comes on cleanly, the bike tracks remarkably well. Also, they use the Suzuki's cross balancer system, which really smooths out all of the engine vibration. Very rich in torque off the bottom. You can certainly rev the engine up high and it has a sweet spot, but I tend to use the torque, whether that's off-road or in corners. Throttle response is really crisp. That's due to linked 42mm electronic bodies. Also, the air intake, the air box has been expanded, which really helps to feed the engine and give it plenty of air to breathe. 6-speed transmission, perfect example of a gearbox. And interestingly enough, the V-Strom 800DE comes standard with a quick shifter, which means you can make clutchless shifts either up or down without without chopping the throttle, which really makes for a sporting attitude. Speaking of that sporting attitude, the 800DE has incredible manners on the street. Despite a 21-inch front wheel, which can sometimes kind of upset the geometry of a bike, the bike turns in incredibly well. It really becomes a sport bike on the street. The on-road, off-road tires have a pattern that, in addition to being quiet, provide incredible side grip for incredible lean angle. The bike is definitely big, or rather has a big feel, and by that I mean it feels good. It feels like a proper motorcycle. Seat height is 33.7 inches, which definitely has it standing tall and proud. There's an optional low seat which can cut about 3/4 of an inch off, which is pretty substantial actually when you're talking about seat height. Seat is comfortable. You can definitely stay in it all day and it works great. Seating position, the ergonomics are really nice. Handlebars placed well with just enough width to give you incredible maneuverability in canyons, but also for off-road riding. I'm 5'11", and in the standing position, the bars feel kind of low. Not a big issue, it just is going to have you putting a little bit more weight on your forearms rather than standing completely erect. Once again, I can't talk enough to the power pulses of this parallel twin. My experience in the past with parallel twins is always that they were somewhat mild-mannered. Not so with the 800DE. The DE has a wet weight of 507 pounds, which for a middleweight may seem a little high. Actually, that's about common, but any heft completely evaporates the minute you let out the clutch. The bike just kind of floats effortlessly between situations, whether you're talking on-road or off-road. Completely manageable. Suspension all works really well, seems to soak up anything on the road easily enough and very smoothly. Nice plush ride. And the same for off-road. There's a traditional coil spring telescopic fork up front, and of course there's a rising rate rear link at the back, giving basically 8.7 inches of travel, and also 8.7 inches is the clearance, the ground clearance, making it the most of any V-Strom to date. The brakes are excellent. Twin 310mm floating rotors are mated to Nissan 2-piston calipers at the front. There's a 260mm disc on the rear. The bike likes to respond to a slight input of rear brake entering corners. It just seems to settle the chassis very nicely. ABS is really effective, no oscillation even under really a super aggressive straight line braking, and also the chassis responds well to trail braking. You can lean the bike in and apply the brakes and it's not going to try to stand up on you. A 5.3 gallon capacity, when combined with a 46 mile per gallon, which is what I experienced on average, gives you an incredible range, 150 to 200 miles, as long as you just watch where you're going. The dash is a 5-inch TFT LCD screen, which is tightly packed with a lot of really useful information. There are several ride modes involved, certainly rain, and then they have a new off-road mode. You can actually cancel all ABS and traction control just in an off position. And they've added a G for gravel, which basically gives you ABS at the rear but removes it from the front. Which is a really nice touch for people that want to go off-road and eliminate any chance of locking the wheel up. Great looking machine. I had the matte gray with yellow accent livery, and it got a lot of looks. This bike just performs at all levels, and I actually had no complaints about this bike. There were no quirks, there were no oddities to it. The single complaint I could drum up would be the lack of any significant protection for wind blast at freeway speeds. The little windscreen is adjustable with a wrench. You got to do some work to raise it or lower it, about an inch range on that. You know what? That's pretty minor when you look at everything this bike has. An MSRP at $11,349. For the basics, it's a liquid-cooled double overhead cam parallel twin, 776 cc's. They claim 83 horsepower at 8,500 RPM. We didn't put it on a dyno, so we're having to take their word for it. The 6-speed is a quick shift and 507 pounds wet. So there you have it. That's the 2023 Suzuki V-Strom 800DE. Go and enjoy yourself.
I hope you enjoyed the review. For a whole lot more content, hit the subscribe button. See you next time. Thanks.